Namaskar. NIOS welcomes you all in this educational video for subject English. This is for secondary level. This is lesson number 14 and now we are going to do video part 2. The lesson name is Stealing and Atonement. In this lesson, we will read some incidents about Mahatma Gandhi ji. This is the true autobiography taken from the book My Experiments with Truth. This word autobiography means a person when he himself writes own story. Mahatma Gandhi ji, he made many confessions in this story. Let us now see few questions. He is asking, what does he reveal about himself from this story? Or were his childhoods and teenage years like yours? Or was Mahatma Gandhi always truthful, or did he learn to be truthful? And also, did he find it difficult to be truthful? In this story, a relative and I means Mahatma Gandhi, they both became fond of smoking, not because the smoking was good, but the smell of cigarette they became very fond of. So, we both simply imagine a sort of pleasure in emitting clouds of smokes from our mouth and making different shapes from the clouds, smoke clouds. And these cigarettes, where do we get these cigarettes from? My uncle had the habit, and when we saw him smoking, we thought we should copy him. But because we both were young child and we had no money, so Mahatma Gandhi's chacha, as he had the habit of smoking, so we both began to collect stubs from the cigarettes thrown away by uncle. These stubs, however, they were not always available and also could not emit much smoke either. So, Mahatma Gandhi, along with the cousin, began to steal coins from the servants' pocket money in order to purchase Indian cigarettes. In the meantime, we heard that the stalks of a certain plant were porous. Stalks, you can see on the screen, image of stalk. So, they used to cut the stalks to use it as cigarette. So, they both got those sticks and they began this kind of smoking. But as both were far from being satisfied with such stalks, and also they both wanted to be independent because using the used studs was not a satisfied thing. So, they both began to be upset. Mahatma Gandhi and his cousin, they both need to take permission from the elders for anything, because they were young and elders must be aware of the things they are doing. So, every time they have to take permission. So, this thing was really unbearable that they should first take permission and then do the things. So, because of this, in sheer disgust, they both decided to do suicide. They both decided to commit suicide because taking permission from the elders was not acceptable to them. But how should we do this suicide? And an idea came that poison, taking poison is the best option. But where do we get this poison? So, we both decided that suicide is the best option, but this poison can be, we can take this poison, we can get this poison from the dhatura seeds, as they both have heard sometime before that dhatura seeds were an effective poison. So, Mahatma Gandhi along with the cousin, they both went to the jungle in search of these dhatura seeds for poison. And finally, they both got them also, and in the evening, they both were happy that we both got the dhatura seeds. As we know, Mahatma Gandhi and the cousin, they both were young, teenage. So, they both went to a temple, Kedarji Mandir, and they both went there and they put ghee in the temple lamp in front of the Devi idol, had the darshan, and then they both looked for a lonely corner. They both, when found a place for them, then they thought of taking the poison at that place. We both, Mahatma Gandhi and his cousin, we both, when sat in the corner, then we both thought these questions. Suppose we were not instantly killed, then what? The second question was that what was the good of killing ourselves? The third question which they asked to ourselves was, why not rather put up with the lack of independence? Yeah, that can be done. So, let us do it. Now, let us read further story. So, we both swallowed 2 or 3 seeds of dhatura. Somehow, we didn't chew it, we just swallowed it. We dared not to take more, and both of us fought shy of death, and decided to go to Ramji's Mandir. To compose ourselves and to dismiss the thought of suicide. Mahatma Gandhi ji, he realized that it was not as easy to commit suicide as to think about it. The thought of suicide ultimately resulted in both of us bidding goodbye to the habit of smoking stubs of cigarette and of stealing the servants' copper coins for the purpose of smoking. Ever since Mahatma Gandhi grown up, Mahatma Gandhi self, he never desired to smoke and always regard the habit of smoking as barbarous, dirty and harmful. So, there was complete zero desire, or you can say no desire, to do smoking in future. And Gandhiji has written, I have never understood why there is such a rage for smoking throughout the world. Because he himself does not feel like smoking. He also said that I cannot bear to travel in a compartment which is full of people smoking. I became choked. But much more serious than this was the theft I was guilty of a little later when I stole the coins when I was 12 or 13 years old, or maybe less than 12 years. And also there was the other theft which I committed when I was 15 years old. And in this case, Gandhiji had stolen a bit of gold out of his brother's armlet. And this brother had earlier run into a debt of about 25 rupees. He had on his arm an armlet of solid gold, and it was not difficult to clip a bit out of it. Because taking something from own brother is not a difficult task, because he is with us almost all the time. So that is why he has written, it was not difficult to clip a bit out of it. Well, it was done, and also the debt was cleared. But this became more than I could bear. I resolved never to steal again. I also made up my mind to confess it to my father. But I did not dare to speak. it was really difficult to speak in front of my father that I have stolen something. Mahatma Gandhi was not afraid of his father's beating, and even in his childhood, he never had been beaten by any of the family member. So that is why he has written that I do not recall his ever beaten any of us. He was afraid of the pain that he should cause to his father, but still he felt that the risk should be taken and that could not be a cleansing without a confession. So Mahatma Gandhi at last decided to write out the confession and to submit it to the father and ask for his forgiveness. So he wrote it on a slip of paper and handed it to father himself. In this note which he has written, he not only did the confession about his guilt, but also he asked for the adequate punishment for the guilt. And at last, he also made a request not to punish himself, himself means the father, for the offences which are made by Gandhiji. So Gandhiji also pledged himself never to steal again in future. Gandhiji was trembling as he handed the confession to his father. He was then confined to bed. His bed was a plain wooden plank. He handed him the note and sat opposite the plank. He read it through and tears trickled down his cheeks, wetting the paper. And for a moment, he closed his eyes in thought and then tore up the note. He had sat up to read it. The father then lay down again. He also cried. Gandhiji could see the father's agony, and he said that if I were a painter, I could draw a picture of the whole scene. As it is still so vivid in my mind. When Gandhiji gave the letter to his father and father read the letter, all the steps, all the images were so clear in his memory. Those tears of love cleansed my heart and washed my sin away. Gandhiji is saying these words. And then Gandhiji also could read it in nothing more than a father's love. But now, today, Gandhiji is saying in these lines that I know that it was the pure ahimsa. Ahimsa means non-violence. It was his own love. Ahimsa is a Hindi word. It means non-violence. And he is also saying when there is such ahimsa, it changes everything it touches. And there is no limit to its power. So, this is the reason that he is having a positive feeling. Gandhiji had thought that his father would be angry, he would say hard things, and he may strike his forehead. But he was so wonderfully peaceful, and that is the reason Gandhiji said that I believe this was due to my clean confession. Mahatma Gandhiji, when he did a clean confession along with a promise never to commit the sin again. This is the purest type of repentance. And Gandhiji already knew that his confession made his father feel absolutely safe about Gandhiji, and also because of this there was increase in affection for Gandhiji which was beyond measure. So, this is the story written by Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi. Thank you.